Welcome back for part 2 of how to make the Luxy Laptop Bag by KC Original. We're now going to prepare our lining front panel. I have my pattern piece for my front lining fabric, the zipper overlay, 2 pieces of the zipper pocket lining, the passport pocket, the credit card pocket, my zipper pull, nylon tape, and 2 scrap pieces of Decaville light. Let's now attach our zipper overlay. The top edge is more narrow, the bottom edge is wider. So we are to use the top narrow edge. We are to follow the instructions that we used in applying our zipper overlay to our exterior panel earlier. The only difference is we're going to put this in a different position from the top edge. And we are to place our zipper overlay according to the instructions. Make sure that it's even and centered to this panel. We're now going to take this to our sewing machine and we're going to top stitch the outer rim of our zipper overlay. We're going to leave long tails as before and draw them to the back afterwards. Okay, long tails, and we'll take them to the back. Here's our zipper overlay outer edge. We're now going to cut down the middle of our zipper overlay and prepare this just as we did before we sew in our pocket. Being careful not to cut the overlay. We're just going to cut this opening. And I'm going to cut it closer to the stitching here. Almost there. Okay, so now we're going to apply double-sided tape on the back side of this, just as we did before, and then prepare our zipper pocket lining. I have a piece of scrap paper here to protect my wool mat from this spray starch, but I'm going to lightly mist the back side of this zipper, and I'm going to go ahead and iron this in place. And then I'll turn it over and iron. I don't put starch on the front side. I didn't know if I wanted to get that in the coils or not. So I spray the back side and just iron both sides. And let's spray the other end of this zipper. Okay, all done. We're now going to assemble one of our zipper pocket linings, and I have 2 of our pieces here, and I have put double-sided tape across the top. We're going to then take our zipper right side up. We're going to stick this right on top of the lining piece. We'll get that lined up right to the edge here. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to put our seam in right across the top here. The seam allowance is given in the instructions, so let's go do that now. And now we're going to fold this back where we have the zipper facing up and the wrong side of the lining facing. We're going to take our other lining piece right side up and apply double-sided tape across the top edge. And then we're going to take this portion with the zipper and we're going to apply it to the top edge of our next panel. And so now these two lining pieces are right sides facing each other. We're going to seam across the top just as we did before with the same seam allowance. Okay, now that we have both of our pieces joined with the zipper, we have our zipper facing up, wrong sides of the lining pieces facing up. We're going to smooth and press this out, and then we're going to attach our zipper pull. Zipper pocket lining, and we're now going to attach our zipper pull, making sure that our teeth are even at the top. Okay, we're going to pull this zipper down to about 1 inch from the edge. And next, we're going to take the double-sided tape off of our zipper overlay back and center our pocket lining over our pocket. I want to first check the back side and make sure that this pocket lining is centered. It's pretty much centered. Now let's center it in the window. Okay, when you have that centered, now we're going to take this to the machine. We're going to top stitch the inner edge of our zipper overlay. Okay, here is our zipper overlay completed. And now let's go to the next step of working on our pocket. So this is what it looks like on the back side. And as before, we're going to put a spot of glue at the end of the zipper on each end and at each end of where we finished sewing our zipper in place. Okay, our next step is to fold this down, and we're going to trim off the excess at the bottom here. I've clipped each side here of the pocket, and now I'm simply going to cut off the bottom excess here. Next, we're going to take this to our machine and sew the 3 sides at the given seam allowance. And don't forget to make a 45-degree angle at your bottom corners. Now, as before, we're going to do a second row of stitching within this seam allowance to reinforce our pocket seam. Let's do that now. Okay, now we're going to trim away some of this excessive seam allowance. Okay, this pocket is done. We're now going to prepare our passport pocket with the credit card pocket. Next, we're going to take our passport pocket and credit card pocket, and we're going to stabilize the edges by turning them over on the back side and taking our nylon tape and putting a strip right across the top edge of each of these, and then we're going to take them to the machine and top stitch across the top edge. I took a magic marker, dark brown, and treated the edges with the marker instead of painting. Since these are interior pockets, I thought I could get away with doing that. And so let's now put our nylon tape across the top and get these top stitched. This nylon tape will keep the edges from getting stretched out. Okay, I'm going to trim up the edges here and take these to the machine. And now we're going to clean up our threads, and then we're going to turn the credit card pocket over and line it with double-sided tape, and we're going to fix it right on top of the passport pocket, lining up the edges at the bottom. Let's first clean up the threads. I now have my credit card pocket with double-sided tape along the 3 edges, and we're now going to align this with the passport pocket. Matching bottom edges and side edges. I'm going to trim off this side edge here. Next, we're going to take chalk and find the centers, top and bottom on this credit card slot, and we're simply going to draw a line down the center of it and top stitch the credit card pocket in place. Okay, let's do that. Okay, we have that top stitched in place. Let's take care of our loose threads. We're now going to take our combined passport pocket and credit card pockets and turn this over and use a double-sided tape for all 3 sides. And then we're going to I found my center mark of the zipper overlay. I have my center mark of my cards. And before we take this to the machine, we're going to turn this over on the back side, and we're going to lift up our pocket and clip it in place. And now we're going to apply some scrap Decaville light along the edges of where we feel that the side edges of our passport pocket is. I put double-sided tape on the back side of this Decaville light. I'm going to center it over where I feel the pocket is. I'm going to apply it at the top here. Okay, now I'm going to take this to the machine, and I'm going to top stitch the 3 sides of these pockets onto the panel. Okay, the pocket's in place, and it looks good. Let's clean up our loose threads towards the back. And this is what it looks like on the back side. Our lining front panel is completed, and now we're going to work on our lining back panel. So we're going to set this aside. We're now going to work on our lining back panel, and for this step we will need our back panel lining fabric, our laptop pocket, and the laptop pocket stabilizer. We're going to need our slip pocket lining, our slip pocket trim, the half moon closure, 4 rivets, our tab closure, our rivet set magnetic closure, scrap Decoville heavy scrap exterior fabric for washers. We're going to need double-sided tape and a strip of 3/4 inch wide nylon tape or the material that we're using that will not allow stretch. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to work with our slip pocket. We're going to fold it in half, right sides together, and we're going to stitch the side seams. Let's do that now. We're now going to turn this inside out, and we're going to make sure we either finger press or iron this flat. This bone folder will make sure that you have nice crisp corners. Okay, the corners look great. I'm going to have to press this flat. So let's go do that now. We now have our pocket pressed, and the next step is to take the top opening and top stitch it closed. Okay, now let's work with our trim. Next, we're working with our pocket trim. We're going to turn it over on the back side, and we're going to draw a center line on this back side. And we're going to apply double-sided tape on each long edge. By the way, I took my magic marker and painted the edges with it instead of using liquid paint. So that's done. So let's apply our double-sided tape. And let's remove the backing of this tape. Next, we're going to take our slip pocket, align it up to this pocket trim. I'm going to put this just below the center line because my leather will compensate for the fold. We're going to fold this over, hiding the stitches, lining up the edges. This pocket trim will be wider than the pocket. That's normal. Make sure our sides are lined up. Give it a good press. Top stitch across and then trim our edges. As usual, we're not going to backstitch. We're going to pull our threads to the back after we're done. Okay, there's our top stitching, and we're going to now take care of our loose threads. Okay, our loose threads are taken care of. Now we're going to cut off the excess on each of the sides. And I'm going to touch up the sides with a little bit of my magic marker. Okay, moving on to the next step. Next, we're going to take our laptop pocket lining and lay it wrong side up. We're going to take the stabilizer piece and align it to the bottom half. And we're going to use our fold line to place this stabilizer, and we're going to make sure that all around the edges it is centered onto this panel. We're going to fuse this stabilizer to the back side of this now, and I've already spritzed it with water. I'm going to use my Cricut heat press and use a Teflon sheet. I did a little test run, and this is fusing very nicely with the temperature set at 300, and I set the timer for about 40 seconds. So let's go ahead and finish the rest of this. Okay, let's begin sewing along our curves. Okay, that's done. Let's go to the next step. Next, we're going to clip our curves. We're going to make some little snips about 1/4 inch apart and get close to the stitches, but don't cut the stitches. We're going to do this on both sides. Next, we're going to turn this right side out, and you can use this edge to turn it or the either side edge. I hear it on the corners becoming unfused a little. It'll be okay if it's just a little edge. We're going to finger press and roll these seams flat. We're going to roll and press the top fold. If you have to press this, go ahead and do so to make sure it's flat. I think I'll give mine a light press. And then we'll be ready for top stitching. I gave this a light press, and now we are to clip our curves to keep them flat, clip across the top. We're now going to top stitch each curve and then top stitch the top of our pocket with 2 rows of top stitching. Let's do the curves first. Okay, that's one. Now let's do the other. Okay, there's our second curve. Now let's do the top with 2 rows, as indicated in the pattern. Okay, here's our double row. Okay, let's move to the next step. Next, we're going to baste each side and the bottom. Next, we're going to take our panel and lay it wrong side up and draw with chalk lines on each side according to the instructions. Next, we're going to make a fold on each side to meet that line and clip in place. Do not use glue or double-sided tape for this step because we're going to open up these sides again. So I am clipping these wrong sides together. Okay, and this is what it should look like. We're now going to take our pocket and turn it right side up and top stitch on each side. Okay, we accomplished that. It looks really good. The directions say, yeah, this looks a bit weird right now, but once the laptop pocket is finished and sewn into the bag, the folds here give this laptop pocket a 3D shape, and it makes it easier for the laptop to slide into the pocket. Okay, so let's set this aside and let's get our half moon closure. We're now going to take our completed pocket, laptop pocket, And we are now going to attach our half moon closure. I've gone ahead and drawn the center line and removed the backing of my double-sided tape. And I'm going to take the laptop pocket and align it midline right at our center mark. So now we're going to take this to the machine and top stitch just the curved portion here. Okay, here's our half moon closure right here. And let's take care of those long tails. We're now going to make a hole here for our female portion of our magnetic snap. I've made a mark with my silver pen according to the measurements that the pattern suggested. And I'm going to take my, my hole punch, and I'm going to make this hole Okay, we've made our hole, and now we're going to insert our magnetic snap, and we're going to have this portion of it in the front or the right side of the pocket, and the back side will be our rivet. And now we're going to use our setting tools and set this rivet in place. Okay, that's in place, and now we are going to go to the next step, and that is to sew on our pocket. Okay, so we're going to place our pocket and pin it down to our panel. I've gone ahead with chalk and marked a line to where we're going to center this and place this on the pocket at that line from the top edge measured down, and we're going to center it here with the snap. We're going to take pins and we're going to pin this in place. And we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to stitch this on all three sides. So let's go do that now. Leaving long tails again to take to the back. Okay, so now we have our three sides sewn in. What we're going to do next is we are going to take our ruler and measure across from the right side of this panel, a measurement according to the directions, so all the way down this pocket. We are not going to sew into this trim. We're going to start our first stitch right underneath the trim and go down. After we make this seam, we're going to take our ruler once again and measure up from this bottom edge and sew across to meet that new seam that we made. This will form a pocket that can be used either for pens, ink pens, even eyeglasses. And the idea is to make this pocket less deep than this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw in with chalk these two lines and get those done. And we'll draw those tails to the back after we're done with this seam here. All the way down. And then we'll sew across. And the last stitch will be on that previous row. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. Let's move to the next step. Now we're going to take rivets and place them above in the pocket trim area, left, right, and right above this seam. And I've already made our holes with my punch, and we're simply going to put our rivets through the holes. And on the back side, we are going to be using washers that we have created with our exterior fabric. What I did was I punched them out with my little tool, punch tool, and then put a hole in the center. So I'm going to put rivets on each end and right here, and then we'll set the rivets in place. Okay, our rivets are set in place. And let's move to the next step. Next, we're going to take our tab closures and apply our nylon tape or equivalent to the back side of each of these. Next, we're going to put glue on the entire surface of both of these and use the glue that's appropriate for your materials. As usual, I'm going to use this Aqualim leather glue. Cover the entire surface of both. I'm now going to allow these to dry a little bit, and then we're going to put them around the edges and then top stitch around. We're now going to attach these wrong sides together, lining up the edges. Making sure we have a good bond. Okay, now I'm going to take this to the machine and top stitch. It looks like I'm going to also need to paint these edges. So let's go and top stitch for now, and then I'll paint the edges and get back with you. Okay, we have our top stitching done. This time we're going to draw our long tails to knot and singe on the right side. The instructions call for our singe and knots to be on the right side, not the wrong side. So let's do that now. Next, we're going to punch a hole, and the directions tell us how far from the edge to punch the hole so that we can insert our male portion of the magnetic snap. And the rivet portion of this snap goes on the front side of this tab closure. After we do that, we're going to set this in place with our tool set. Afterwards, we're going to draw a line from this edge in on both front and back sides. After we do that, we are going to apply 3/8 inch double-sided tape to the right side of the tab closure. And now we're going to take this and put it on our back panel. Next, we're going to attach our tab closure to our lining panel. The instructions had us draw lines so that we know the placement of this tab closure. I have my double-sided tape here that I've taken the tab off. I'm going to place this right side down at the marks. And then we're going to take this to our machine and we're going to sew this tab into place. We're going to sew using a pivot method, starting at the bottom right, going across and pivoting up, going across and pivoting and going down. So we will in the end have an X box. After we sew this in place, we will add a rivet to strengthen these stitches. Let's go and sew this in place. And I'm going to place this last stitch right in the first hole that we made. Okay, all done. Let's take a look. Looks good. Now we're going to finish off our long tails, and then we'll set our rivet in place. Okay, we have our hole, and now let's insert our rivet. And I have a spare piece of Decaville Heavy to put on the back side of this. And now let's go and set this with our tool. Okay, there we have it, all done here. We're now ready to attach the laptop pocket to the lining back panel. We're going to lay our back panel right side up and draw a line to the left and right of this tab closure according to the instructions. Next, we're going to take our laptop panel and we are going to place that right on the line and line it up. Now we're going to take pins and we're going to pin this in place across the top. Making sure that we have it lined up on the line that we drew. Okay. Next, we're going to take our side panels and we're going to open them up and lay them flat. At this point, you're going to notice that this pocket lining is wider than the back panel, and that's normal. It's also longer than the back panel, so these will make the pocket fit the laptop better. Remember, we're making a 3D pocket for our laptop to insert it into this pocket. So all of this that you see here is normal. So now we're going to take these sides and we're going to flatten them out and pin in place on the inside of our fold line here. So let's pin that in place. Same for the other side. Next, we're going to take these edges here and we're going to line them up with the side of our back panel. These two edges here, line them up, and we're going to clip these in place. Now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to baste these sides in. So let's go do that now. Okay, that's one side, and let's do the other. Okay, we have those sewn in. Now let's go to the next step. Next, we're going to take this bottom edge and clip it in place to our back panel. Here's my midline point on each. I'm going to start in the middle and clip these in place. After we clip this edge in place, we are going to baste it to sew these two panels together. We're almost done with our pocket. Okay, now let's baste along this edge here. Okay, our laptop pocket is completed. Now we're at the wonderful stage of putting it all together. I'm so excited. So what we have here is our assembled exterior front panel and back panel. We have our gusset ring. We have our lining front panel as well as the lining back panel. So the first thing we're going to do is take our front panel and lie it wrong side up on the table and take this lining front panel, place this right side up right on top of it. And we're going to align the top and bottom center marks here. We're going to clip these in place. Next, we're going to align the marks on the sides and clip those in place. And after that, clip all around the edges. Now I'm going to clip all the way around the handle, turn it on this side and bring it down and clip it to our zipper pull so it's not in the way when we top stitch around. So yes, we're going to baste these two pieces together with the seam allowance stated in the pattern. So let's do that now. Okay, folks, this is a good time to check your bobbin to make sure that you have enough. We're going to be sewing a lot here around the exterior panels. We don't want to run out of bobbin in the middle of it. Okay, this panel is done. Next, we're going to take our assembled lining back panel and lay it right side up. We're going to push these folds flat and pin them in place. So I have this flat. I'm going to pin this in place on both sides. Do the same for over on this side. This will help us when we baste this to our external back panel. And next, we're going to take this bottom edge, flatten it as well. Don't worry, I'm going to set those pins better before I baste. And we're going to put pins across here. Afterwards, we're going to take our back exterior panel, turn it face down, and set this lining panel on top of it. And as before, we're going to clip the centers, top and bottom, sides, and clip all around and baste this into place, just as we did the front panels. Okay, let's do that now. We now have our back panel clipped together. On one of the corners, it just felt like it was pulling a bit too much for the clip, so I used a staple. I'm going to baste this with the lining side up. So I made my staples smooth side on this side here, so when I sew, they're not going to scratch up the metal as I go around. So these staples are wrong sides facing. Also, we closed our tab closure here with a magnetic snap. On this side, we put our handle inside the back pocket and snapped it closed. Okay, so now we're ready to baste this all the way around. One thing I forgot to mention, make sure your staples are inside the seam allowance so you don't have to sew over the staples. This one here is mighty close. I'm tilting the panel a little bit to get a better surface. Okay, all done with that. And this is what our finished panel looks like. Leave the pins in place. We're now going to take our finished gusset piece and we're actually going to add a second row of seam all the way around. And in the instructions, it tells us what our new seam is going to be. So in the end, we're going to have 2 seams. And so let's do that second row now. This second row is very important to stay on point because we're going to use this second row later when we attach our gusset to the exterior panels. I should have used a hump jumper there. I will when I go on the other side. Okay, we have our second row of stitching. And let's move to the next step. We're now going to attach the gusset ring to the front and back panels. We're going to start with the back panel and lay it right side up. Next, I'm going to take the gusset ring and I'm going to align it with right sides of it facing the back panel. We're going to use our center marks from our prep stage to line up the top center on each of these panels and clip in place. Now we're going to line up the bottom center marks on each panel and clip. Next, we're going to clip the sides. In our prep stage, we made marks on this back panel, and we're going to align them with our seams here that we made between the gusset and the zipper placket. So I'm going to clip that in place. I think I'm going to need some heavy-duty clips here. And I'm going to align the side over here with the mark that we made in the prep stage. Whoops, there goes a clip. Okay, we have our top, bottom, and sides clipped. Now we're going to work in between. We're not going to clip the corners at all. We're going to do that last. We need to make snips at the corners. So let's go ahead and clip these other areas first. Okay, so now we have these clipped. We're now going to concentrate on our corners. What we're going to do is take some scissors and we're going to make some snips so that the corners lay more flat. We're only going to snip the gusset ring. And we have 2 rows here of stitching. We're going to clip through the first row, but not through the second. We're going to make little snips to that point, 1/4 inch apart, and do every corner and clip them down. Perfect. That lines up very nicely. And now we're going to clip this in place. We're going to do the same for the other 3 corners. You have a choice of clipping or stapling. However, I'm going to probably put 1 staple here in the middle and then clip the rest. Just to keep the center of this stable. And I'll use my hemostats. Yeah, actually, I'm going to put another staple here. Okay, so let's do the other corners. Next, we're going to stitch the gusset ring to the back panel, and we're going to sew this with the gusset ring facing up, just as it appears right here. The instructions have a specific seam allowance for this next round, so look for those notes in order to seam this correctly. I'm going to probably be using my hemostats at some point as I go around, and because sometimes the corners, are difficult to keep the edges together. That's why I put a few staples in there. Okay, let's go and seam these two together. I backstitch at this seam here because it's pretty thick. Notice how I'm flattening out the seam as much as I can before I sew it. I had to stop and put more staples in. The two leathers that I chose is on the thicker side, and the clips were not staying in place. And so I stapled the rest of the way just so that I can make sure that nothing is moving on me. So if you have thick leathers or leathers on the thicker side, just know that staples might work better. And at this seam here junction, I'm going to back stitch a couple of times to make sure that that is securely stitched through. Almost done. Okay, we made it. So we got our seam all the way around. Now the instructions call for us to make one more seam all the way around, and that's going to be on the inside of the seam allowance that we just did. So let's go ahead and make that next seam. I removed all of the staples, and now I'm going to put in that last row, which will secure this bag. The instructions do tell us where to make this seam. Much easier than the previous round. Oh, I thought the needle was down. My goodness. Okay, we have accomplished one half. Next, we're going to do the same thing with the front panel. Before we start clipping or stapling, we are to open up our zipper here in the gusset. So this is going to be the same method. Find the center points on each of these and start clipping there first. Oh, we have to get rid of this handle by clipping this down in place. Okay, now line up the midlines. I have some tails to take care of there. And then the sides. Okay, now we'll go across here and here, and we'll leave the corners for snipping. When we're finished with all of the rows that we have to do here, we're not going to turn this inside out yet because we have to do the binding. I still might end up stapling some of these areas because that worked out really good since I'm working with a thicker leather. Okay, let's start clipping these corners and let's start snipping these corners and clipping them in place. Now I'm getting ready to stitch in the next section of the gusset with the front panel, and this is going to be a little challenging because my leathers are so thick. Also, I found my little metal clips, which I almost forgot I had. And so these appear to be holding my leather panels together. I did still staple the corners, but these little clips are pretty strong. I'll include the link to where I bought them in the description. I considered sewing this the other way, but that was going to be a challenge as well. So let's see if we can get this done. I'm hoping these pins don't decide to jump out and bite me. Oh, thank goodness for the zipper placard. That's making it easy to flatten because the zipper's open. Oops, I could see the staple gave way. The hemostats are great for removing staples. Almost got off course there. What's going on? Oh my God. I ran out of bobbin? 20 miles ago. I just changed that bobbin. Okay. Okay, I feel like breaking out in song. We did good. Let's just keep going here with that next row to secure this bag. Yes, I'm done. Next, we're going to start binding our bag. What we need is our assembled bag, still inside out, and we need our 2 strips of binding material, either made of thin leather, thin vinyl, or waterproof canvas. The leather is highly recommended. Either use exterior leather that has been skived back to 1.5 ounces in thickness, or use pig skin or lamb skin, because it's generally about 1.5 ounces in weight. If you choose to use thin vinyl or waterproof canvas, although they don't fray, they may be more difficult around the corners, as they will most likely have puckers that you have to deal with. I am using a pigskin leather that's very thin, and the first step that we want to do is apply glue around the border of our bag. Contact cement glue is highly recommended because it's easy to use and it creates a strong bond. So what we need to do is apply glue on the bag surface edge as well as our binding material. And so what we're going to do is put this contact cement all around the edge, following the instructions for how close to get to the seam allowance. And then we're going to apply the contact cement along the edge of the binding strip, which we're laying right side down so that we can see this wrong side and apply the glue as I've started doing here. And so after I apply the glue all around the bag and on the binding strip, I'll come back and show you how we assemble the binding material to the bag. I'm back to demonstrate how I've placed some of my binding already. The glue dries pretty fast, so I didn't want to glue all around the edge and then come back. So I'm demonstrating how I've already laid this part of this binding strip down, coming to begin in the middle, bottom, bring it around. When we get to the corner, we're not going to actually press it in yet. We're going to pull this binding a little bit of stretch to it, and we're going to come around and attach it to the side here first, and then we're going to work our corners last. So we're going to go ahead and apply the sides, avoid the corners until the very end. So we'll just leave it just like this until the end. If the glue starts to dry a bit, I'll apply more, but I just wanted to show how I am applying the sides and leaving the corners for later. I'm at the very end of attaching my binding, and as I come around this last corner, I'm going to pull this a little bit to stretch. We're going to overlap this last 3/4 inch and glue it on top. and glue it right on top of the other strip here, just like that. Okay. Okay, so we have our edge here. Now we're going to attach the corners. Now let's attach our corners. We're first going to press right down in the middle here. That's going to create two areas that are not surface contact yet. And then we're going to push right in between those two areas and create 4 areas that are not glued down. And from there, we're going to just work our way around to get contact between all of these little areas here. And then again, we just press them in place to smooth them out as much as we can. And in the end, we'll have a nice curve here of our material. Let's continue doing that all around the bag in each corner. Next, we're going to turn our bag over and notice that we can fold this back. We are now going to apply glue along this gusset edge all the way around and apply glue right here on our binding strip. We don't need to fill the whole strip with glue, just this portion right here that we're going to fold over and apply to the gusset. This is way thicker than we need, and that's normal. Later on, the instructions will tell us to do with this excess going around. So right now we're going to apply glue on the gusset. We're going to apply glue right here on the binding. We're going to apply these two edges together and pinch them together with your fingers or with a pair of pliers like this, and just press those two edges together all the way around. Let's do that now. I wanted to demonstrate going around the corners. sometimes if you get it a first squeeze with your finger, then you can go and use the pliers after you make that initial contact. Then it's a little easier to use the pliers after that. Okay, so the corners are fairly easy, and let's finish up. We've now finished attaching the binding all the way around. We're going to now take this to the machine and lay the gusset part down flat and seam around the whole entire bag. The instructions tell us the seam allowance in this step. And note, we still have an excess here of the binding, and we will cut this or trim it down later, but first we're going to make our seam. When you seam this on your machine, it is advised that you lift this bag vertical to get down here with a narrow foot. You don't need a cylinder arm machine necessarily if you tilt it and seam with a narrow foot. So let's go and do that now. I should have changed out my presser foot, but I was just too lazy. Slow and steady is the game here. what our bag looks like now that we've sewn on the binding on each side. Now, before we go to the next step, we are going to take our pins out. So let's get all of these pins out. And then we will trim the excess binding material.
There's some serious wrinkles in this, but I guess it'll be okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take some scissors and we're going to trim off the excessive part of this binding. And we need to take our scissors and cut in long strips and cut into a smooth continuous line without any zigzags or jagged spaces. We're going to cut close but not too close to these stitches. We do not want to cut those. So let's give this a try. I'm going to start near the corner and move my way inward as I cut. I'm going to try to use the edge of my scissors to gauge how close I'm cutting and hopefully stay on course. But that's my first cut. It looks pretty good. Keep in mind that if you don't make it nice and smooth, it's going to be hard to see when we turn this bag inside out. And this binding is going to be, you know, kind of like in the fold of the bag, and you won't be really able to see how well you did on cutting this. But let's continue. These scissors are so sharp, I just discovered I can glide them across this thin pig leather, so that's even better. I won't try that on the curve, though, that's for sure. I don't want to cut into my waterproof canvas either. Looking good so far. Okay, this looks like I could trim it a little thinner right here. Now this is where I might end up with a little jagged area. Let's see how well I do. We did good. Now these scissors are pretty good. I think I could still trim it even more. But let me do that in the end. I'm going to keep going while I'm doing well. These scissors I got from Joann Fabric years ago, and I only use them when I need to cut leather like this, so they've somehow stayed pretty sharp. I'm impressed. Thread Nanny is the name of the brand. I must say I had apprehensions about this step, but this is much easier than I anticipated. I think I should be cutting this closer to the stitching, so I might be doing another round to get closer. And we're at the end already. Okay, that was pretty easy. The only thing is I wonder if I should cut it even closer. Let me do this side, the other side, and then I'll make up my mind. But so far, it's looking very good. Okay, let's do the other side. Okay, the binding is complete. I trimmed it a little closer, and it looks great. So this wasn't as hard as anticipated. So what we're going to do now is it's time to turn this bag inside out. But the first thing we're going to do is release our handles. Okay, then we're going to push in the corners. Easier said than done. There we go. That's half a corner. Oh gosh. So this was a true statement. It was stated in the instructions that this is the hardest part of the whole bag. And I'm beginning to feel that it is. Let's see here. Okay, I kind of got the corners in. Now I'm going to push in the bottom of the bag. Oh boy, this leather is feeling thicker than ever at this moment. I don't even know if I'm making progress. It feels like it's coming along, but other times not. Okay, let's see here. Wow, this is pretty tough. This has to go in. Oh yeah, let's see here. Come on, we can do this. How about we just carry the bag like this? So it's the corners that I can't seem to get in. I had anticipated this being easier because of the size of the bag, but I think it's because of the stiffness of my leather that's making this more difficult than I imagined. I almost feel like I need to back up and... Oh, wait. Maybe we got something here. Ooh, come on. Ugh. I think a corner is born. I see a corner. Just as you think you're going to give up, a corner is born. Whew. Okay. Phew. A corner is born. Yes! A corner is born. Yes. Okay. Alrighty then, let's see here. Let's try to get the other corner. I think I'm going to try this way. Oh gosh, let's see. Nope. Nope. Let's see here. Push out the bottom. Thank goodness for double seams. Okay, yes, let's try this. Ooh, this is abuse. Ooh. Oh, yes. Okay. Whew. That was a workout. Man. So push the corners out. Roll that seam and keep pushing out the corners. Okay, what I'm going to do is roll these seams off camera, and we'll be back when she looks better. And the next step is to make our two-tone strap. Well, she turned out to be most beautiful. The edges are nice and crisp. I almost forgot the painful process of birthing her. Very nice. I am so pleased with the outcome. Okay, so all we have to do now is make the shoulder strap. So I need to splice my pieces for my shoulder strap. I skived the edges here very well, almost too well on this one. But what I'm going to do is cut one end at an angle, hand skive this some more with this tool after machine skiving this, and then I'm going to use my rubber cement and glue this right on top of this piece that's very thin here. So I have still a little bit more of hand skiving to do on this top piece, so that when I glue this down, this junction will be the level of one thickness instead of two thicknesses. So let's see here. I want to skive this some more by hand. If I did this any more on the machine, it would start to chew away like it did here. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to hand skive this down. Let's see how well I did here. Use a little bit more skiving. Okay, let's see how we did on that edge there. Okay, I'm finally happy with how much I've skived the edges, and when I line them up, press down, it looks very, very good. And when I put contact cement on this, it will look even more seamless. I'm using the grids on my mat to make sure these two are lined up perfectly. And now I'm going to apply the cement glue and splice this in place and move on for the construction of the shoulder strap. Now that we have our strap spliced and at the appropriate length for our two-tone strap, we're going to start assembling it. So I have my strap top, I have my strap bottom, I have two 1-inch swivel hooks, one 1-inch tri-glide slider, two 1-inch strap ends, and some Chicago screws, and use the post length according to the thickness of your materials. I have strips of nylon tape equivalent. And so now what we're going to do is take both straps wrong side on the table, and we're going to draw a center line down the center of each of these parallel to the long edges. Let's do that now. Now that we have our center lines drawn on both strapped pieces, we're going to take our nylon tape, and for me, I'm using this self-adhesive fabric, and we're going to align this down the center of the strap bottom. And after we do this for the entire length of this strap, then we're going to draw our center line on top of this once again. After that, we're going to take our double-sided tape and put it along each long edge of both of these straps. So let's get that done. And we'll do the same for this strap.
now have both of our straps prepared. I have used my rubber mallet to pound on these a bit to make them flat. The seam roller was okay, but using the mallet was better. Now we're going to take our double-sided tape and apply it to this wrong side center line all the way around our strap top. And with our strap bottom lying on the table, wrong side up, we're going to take the double-sided tape backing off and stick these two together with the strap top being centered along the entire length of our strap bottom. After we have this centered and set, we are going to take this strap now to this machine and top stitch each side of the top strap. That way we can make the two pieces into one lovely two-tone strap. Let's do that now. Okay, let's take this to the machine and top stitch in place. Okay, concerning the raw edges of our straps, you can either paint them or cover them with strap ends. And so I like these strap ends, so I've chosen to do that. I did put a little bit of this tacky glue on the inside of this strap end, just in case. So now we're going to set the screws in place and use some thread lock for those tiny little screws. One thing I wanted to mention is whenever you're working with leather that has a dark right side and a lighter fleshy color on the inside or the wrong side, when you finish stitching, you're going to notice on the wrong side of your stitching, you can see maybe teeny tiny holes of that color coming through. And so to remedy that, I took some of this Aussie leather conditioner with a rag, and I just simply buffed some of this in with a rag. It gave it a nice glossy finish. It seeped into those stitch holes, and you can't really see that fleshy side color anymore. So just a tip. So now what I'm going to do to set these screws is I like to take my awl and I like to just use it to get started the little hole for the screws. So I'll just give it a little push and then put my screws in place with some thread lock and set those in place. After we're done doing that, we're going to take a ruler and make two measurements according to the instructions on the right side. We're going to make two measurements in chalk from this edge inward. And this is going to be the measurements where we're going to put a Chicago screw after we insert our tri-glide slider. I decided to use my silver marking pen to mark the spots where we need to punch our holes. I have one more hole to do. And now we're going to take one of these and thread it onto our tri-glide. And bring this to the back side. Line up our holes. And set our Chicago screw in place. We're going to use thread lock again. I've chosen a particular length of this post, and I'm hoping that it is going to work. Otherwise, I have to get another longer one. Oh, it's perfect. I could just see it peeking out there from the hole. Perfect. Okay, let's put some thread lock on there and set this screw in place. Next, we're going to take one of our swivel hooks, thread it onto the other end of our strap, with the swivel hook pointing upwards, we're going to move this all the way towards the tri-glide. And now we're going to take the other end and bring it to the slider. Push, we're going to place this inside here and through here. Wish me luck. I had a feeling I should set this after I threaded it through. I might have to take the strap in off to do that. Let's give it a try. My leather is much thicker in the end. Oh, we got it? Barely. Okay. Okay, so if your leather is thick as mine and you didn't skive it down enough, put this strap into this side of the strap after you thread it through the tri-glide. I don't want to get pliers because I'll surely scratch up this metal strap in, but we got it through. And now we're going to put it through to this side. This may not be possible. Let's see. I don't think it's possible. As much as I wanted to follow the instructions for this adjustable strap, my leather in the end is too thick. So this is the flattest that I can make this, which is not good. So what I'm going to do is improvise for this leather version. So what I've decided to do is make a buckled strap because my leather is too thick. I'm going to keep the original strap end here. I'm going to keep the original holes as called for in the pattern. The only thing I'm going to change to accommodate for the buckle is to punch out a channel for the buckle. I've marked 2 spots here for this measurement. One of the marks is 1.5 inches from the end. The other is 2 1/4 inches from the end. And that's going to be the distance for this punch out tool. So I'm going to go and punch this out, and let's install the buckle with a Chicago screw. Okay, I punched the channel out, and I took my brown Sharpie and I colored in the intersection of this channel so that it wasn't discolored looking. We're going to take our buckle face up, slide it onto the strap, put the tongue of this through the hole or the channel, fold it over, align the holes from the original strap, and put our Chicago screw there. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put thread lock in there. And we're simply going to screw that in place. And so now after we screw this in place, all we have to do is prepare the other end of this strap with a series of punched holes. So here's one end of this buckle strap. And on this end, this is one of the original holes from the directions. I just got rid of the other strap end and cut this fresh just by a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure for our punched holes for the belt. This is going to be our first hole. We're going to mark a 2-inch distance from each hole. So there's going to be one here, 2 inches from the hole there, and another 2 inches here. So I will have 3 holes. I'm going to punch those holes, and then we'll prepare the tip, and we're almost done. And so on this end, what I did was I used the strap end piece, and I cut 4 holes. This was one of the original holes that the pattern called for, the distance from here. I just left off the first one close to the strap end. And so here's the second hole in the pattern, and I added 3 more, a distance of 2 inches apart. So now, typically, when you make a belted strap for a purse with swivel clasps, you want to cut your strap into 2 pieces, and generally the pieces are different in size by 2.5 times here. So I simply measured the length, the total length of this strap, including the portion that's folded over in the back, and divided it by 2.5. and that number is going to give me the length of the shortest piece, which includes the buckle. So I have my strap marked here where I'm going to cut. So this piece here with the holes is 2.5 times longer than the piece with the buckle. And so now after I cut it, we're simply going to slip on our swivel clasp on each of the 2 new pieces. And we're going to punch holes according to the instructions and fold it over on the back side of that swivel clasp. And we're going to add another strap-in piece and Chicago screw. So this is a simple version of modifying the adjustable strap for the Luxy bag. You're taking the same length. You're going to take each end and you're going to treat one end with the strap keeper, 4 holes. You're going to treat the other end same way, strap keeper, same original 2 holes. You're just going to loop a buckle instead of a swivel clasp. And I gave you the measurements of where to make the channel and add your swivel clasps. So let's go ahead and cut this, add the swivel clasps. The only other thing I can add to is maybe a strap keeper. This is optional. What I did was I took 2 pieces of my exterior, and this measures 3¼ inches by 5/8 inches wide. I simply took the 2 pieces and I glued them together with contact cement. I'm going to paint the edges. So I'm going to loop this in a circle, and I'm going to stitch inside there to feed it right through this space between the buckle and the strap end. And I'm going to loop it this about 3/8 inch loop there. And I'm going to actually sew this with needle and thread. And then I'm going to rotate it so that that sewn little piece is hidden underneath the strap piece here.
We have our 2 strap-in pieces. Each has a strap-in already installed. I've used the original pattern and punched out these 2 holes as directed. And we're going to install the swivel clasp to each strap piece. We're going to slip this on with the clasp facing up. We're going to fold over the strap and find our Chicago screw holes and simply push that in. Apply thread lock and screw these in. Okay, we have one done, and let's do the other. Okay, there we have it. We have both of our swivel clasps on. Now I'm simply going to install my little strap keeper. Okay, I've top stitched my strap keeper and I've punched some little holes in, and I actually took the thread out of the needle of my industrial machine and I just pushed the needle through to make the holes. I'm going to thread this through the space between the buckle and Chicago screw. Okay, I already tied one side. I'm just simply coming up and over several times just to secure this belt keeper. So I'm going to do the same thing, come up and over 3 times. There we go. I'm going to tie this into several knots. We're going to put a spot of glue on each side, and then we're going to shift it to the back. I have fray check here. Just put a spot of it. And here is our completed buckle strap.
And the final reveal, look how beautiful this came out. How sophisticated, how high-end does this look? Thank you, Karin from KC Original. This was such a well-written pattern. It was perfection. The instructions were so well written. And in the end, this is a masterpiece. I have never had such an easier construction of rolled handles before. So that was genius, the way we put those together. And my only hiccup was the shoulder strap. The leather just was too thick or not skived enough for the adjustable strap. But in the end, there's an option on how to do a buckled strap for those who have a thicker leather than called for in the pattern. But there's so many nice pockets and slip pockets. We have a very nice zipper pocket in the front, and in the back there's that nice snapped pocket here. This has a lot going on the inside. On the inside, we have the sleeve for the laptop. We have some cargo pockets, pen pockets, or your spectacle pockets. And I love how this is padded. Very genius. On the other side, we have another slip pocket here, a zipper pocket, credit card slots. Very nice. This is a roomy bag. And if you don't want to carry it by the handles, you always have the option of the shoulder strap. Well, thank you so much. I was honored to be a part of this test. Thank you so much for allowing me to do the tutorial for this pattern. It's beautiful. I call this a masterpiece.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.